Hello and welcome to the Latvian Football Podcast. Today we're at Metta's headquarters and we're joined by James, the Metta Academy coach, who's going to talk a little bit more about youth development in Latvian football. James has an impressive CV, having been at clubs such as Burnley, Huddersfield, Rochdale, and he's even done a stint in Qatar. Hello James, how are you today?
Hello, thanks for having me.
And how are you finding Riga at the moment?
I'm loving it. It's been a surreal experience, I'd say, because I think I've really sampled every season that I've been here. I arrived in winter, in January. We had a nice spring. We had what I would say is a nice summer compared to England anyway.
Yeah, there's always the summers here are perfect, I find.
Yeah, and it's starting to drop again now. So
yeah,
no, I feel like I've almost had the full cycle almost. So it's been good.
So tell us a little bit about your experience so far at Metta. You've been here since January. How have you found it? How have you settled in? You're also partly Latvian as well, which we'll learn a little bit a bit later. But
yeah, so. I arrived at Metta in January of this year. Again, I mean, I used the word before surreal, but how it came around was very surreal. And you know, when I got this opportunity to come out, it all happened very quick. It was a no-brainer. I was excited to come out. It's my first time here in Latvia, and in Riga, like you said, I have got Latvian heritage, so yeah, it seems to have kind of like gone full circle. So. And
had you been to Latvia before?
No, never been to Latvia before. This is my first time.
Okay, first time in Latvia. But your grandfather, tell us about your connection with Latvia then.
Yeah, so my full name is James Andris Prieditis, and my grandfather was from Riga. Born in Riga, he moved to the UK when he was young, during the war, and yeah, he'd been in the UK since. So, other than obviously having the Latvian middle name and the surname, I'd never been here. So
you always felt a slight calling. Why did they go to the UK in the first place?
Yeah, it was during the war. So my granddad left with his mother and his sister. His father, so my great-grandfather was in the Latvian Air Force, but yeah, they fled during the war.
So to avoid occupation?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So as Latvia lost its independence, they left. Okay, so firstly, let's start a little bit with how would you compare the youth football development system in Latvia compared to those in England, and what are the key differences you're seeing at the moment?
So one of the big differences, for example, in England is the resources available in England is, you know, Latvia doesn't have the same available resources at this moment compared to England. So the staffing for youth football in England, and if we're just talking about academy level right now, you know, you have people of different roles, from, you know, not just coaches, but medical, sports science, analysts. The number of staffing is.
So resources are the big.
Yes, definitely the resources, which obviously comes with financial. Big financial requirements in England. And I think that's one of the challenges here, that how do you kind of compete with at a youth level? How do you try and implement like a professional environment, or as get close to it as you can with what you've got available?
And you were at Rochdale, which was they were in League Two and then the National League, and Burnley, obviously Premier League team, and Huddersfield and so on. Based on the similarities of League Two, National League, Would you say that there are similarities with the Veersliga teams in terms of facilities, resources, and so on, or how would you compare that side, the lower leagues of English football to where you're at now?
So the lower leagues, if you were talking about, whether you're talking about the first team professionally or you're talking about the youth setups, you know, in England they have different categories. So like your top teams, category 1, you know, they're mainly your Premier League teams, down to category 3 and 4. And category 3 and 4 teams, they don't own their own facilities. So they train at schools, schools or any kind of pitches that meet the standards required, and that are within the budget to hire out and rent.
Okay.
So it's certainly here, I'd say it's similar in that sense that, you know, like I say, we train at a school, and it's the same it would be the same when I was in England.
Yeah. Well, I'm quite familiar with like League One. I used to watch Charlton Athletic and the Championship, Cardiff City and so on. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the new Baltic Sports Village that's being developed, and what RFS are doing as well at LNK, Sporter Parks and so on, I think there's some exciting development, and Metta, they're building a whole new facilities at the moment. So
and facilities like that, what I would say is that'd be like the equivalent of a category 1-2 team. The Baltic Sports Village, that would be like a Premier League team, what they'd have.
So you're seeing encouraging signs here?
Yes, certainly with you know, availability, pitch availability and stuff like that here, yes.
Okay. So what role do grassroots programs play in football development in Latvia compared to England, particularly, you know, coming from the Metta side? How can Latvia strengthen this foundation, do you think?
Well, grassroots is kind of your keystone. Grassroots is where every player starts in grassroots, and that's one thing that from England, I think it's important that the players don't forget that, and we don't forget it as well as coaches. I think it's easy for us to kind of forget that, you know, we all had to start somewhere, and you know, myself, I've done grassroots in between academies and before, and it's how you learn. It's how you start to learn the trade of coaching and the game, and for the players as well. It's, you know, the bigger the grassroots we can get, the more players we can get playing, the more love for the game. Everything just increases, not just the quality of the players, but also the number of people involved in the sport of football.
I think grassroots is everything, and you know, we've all played football as kids and so on. I think the big challenges here have been outside Riga, the facilities to play, particularly during the winter seasons and so on. And there are a lot more indoor pitches being developed, and you saw that a lot with the success in Iceland as well. But yeah, I think grassroots football is really important. Are there any particular training methodologies in England's youth system that Latvia could adopt to enhance the technical skills of young players? There were a few trialist players with Metta this season. Some of them said they're seeing a lot more physicality in the game compared to technical skills. But what are your thoughts?
I think the important thing is it's all dependent on, you know, where you want to go and what you want to get out of it. So, you know, there are different training methodologies, but the places that I've been have been different. So, you know, for example, when I was at Burnley, a lot of their methodologies were a lot different to Rochdale, but that's because you're working with different levels of players and different disposals. So Burnley are a Premier League team that can like, I've got access to a lot of resources, and can attract certain players and whatnot. Whereas at Rochdale, when you're down in the lower leagues, you've got to find ways to compete with even with that level. So yeah, I think it's all about context for me. With the training methodologies, it's all about what kind of players you want to create and produce.
Okay.
And how you get out of it.
So do you think we had an interesting team play RFS this season, Bodo from Norway, and they've really implemented a 4-3-3 where from the youth system down, every single team has to play 4-4-3.
Yeah.
What would you say is important, like collectively for a club from the youth system, bringing the players up to first team?
Well, it depends what for me, it depends what you're trying to, what you're trying to get. So you mentioned about Bodo Glimt playing 4-3-3 down, but you have to give players a range of experiences. So a player that plays maybe 4-3-3, if you're a club that's looking to sell players, then they need to. Other clubs would be asking at that level. They'd be asking, well, look, does this player have experience? Will he fit into our system and how we want to play?
So what kind of experience is that?
I think, well, for a young player, you have to give them. For me, you have to give them a range. Like if you mentioned about Bodo Glimt using the 4-3-3, and again, there's different tactics you can play with in a 4-3-3 and how you play that. How you play that game. And yes, I know that they're having some success with that and playing with that. And that works for them at this moment.
Yeah.
And will it continue to? Maybe. Who knows? For me, I don't know if you can know for definite.
So your coaching philosophy, you try and encourage players to take on different experiences. Do you have any examples of what kind of experience is this? Is this more like skills, dribbling, or game planning, or strategy?
So
if you got some examples.
So for me, it depends on when I'm working with young players. It depends on age, ability, everything. So I think it's important that we give players different technical skills, because they need to master different technical skills to be able to implement different tactics within the game.
Yeah. What kind of master skills?
Oh, it could be anything. It could be anything. So you're talking from dribbling. It could be creativity. You could be talking about 1v1 defending, passing, short passing, longer passing, how we receive the ball, receiving the ball on the floor, receiving the ball in the air. I think you have to, when you master kind of different levels, that allows you then to implement different tactics.
Okay.
So that the players are able to implement.
Right. Okay, so we're here at Metta today, and you're establishing your position and trying to bring your own philosophy to what you're doing as a coach. What do you find is special about the Metta system, and why would a parent choose to send their child to Metta and not RFS, Riga FC, or Supernova, or somewhere else?
I think for me, I can't comment on any of the other clubs because I've not seen them. So I don't know how they work or whatnot. But what I can say is, here at Metta is, working with the staff that I've worked with, they're very open-minded, and that's certainly evident where there's a number of coaches from different international backgrounds here that have all got different experiences and different things to offer. And ultimately, it's a case of not one size fits all, but it's seeing what we've got, what we can take from each thing, and make it better here. And that's what, for me here, it's not a case of like this worked for me, because everywhere that I've worked, I've had to work differently. I've had to adapt and working with different level of players in different ways. So it's the same here. It's just a case of what can we look to improve on all the time with what we've got available. And
what do you feel the youngsters here are getting that is quite unique? Even though you've only been here since January, is there a nice collective feeling? Do you feel it's a family club, or what do you feel stands out for you so far?
Like I feel, well, I mean, I can only speak from my experience and me personally, but, you know, I get on well with everybody, and I'd like to think that we all get on well with everybody. We all get on well with each other. We work really well as a team. I feel like everybody's willing to go above and beyond here. You know, the work that goes in behind from everybody, from the top down, and it's not just the coaches, but, you know, the hours, like it's literally non-stop.
So there's a very dedicated,
unbelievable
senior staff.
Yeah, unbelievable. And and I think that, like, every coach here, like I said, the ones that I've had the opportunity to kind of see, they all offer different things.
Yeah.
So it gives the players, as I mentioned, just a range of experiences.
Okay.
For their development.
Sorry,
for their development.
For development, yeah. So talking about development, what do you think is important then? We've just spoken about the academy. What do you think is important for parents when selecting an academy? What do you like in terms of either a footballing career or just the development of the child? What do you think is the most important?
The most important thing is they've got to, it's where they're happiest.
Yeah.
So I feel and think that players will always choose somewhere, players and parents, because they have a big part in making the choices, but they'll choose love over maybe status or reputation.